Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have the deck profile for the deck we took to Locals yesterday, which is Neo-Spacians. So we got third place at Locals yesterday with this deck, which really surprised me, but I'm not complaining. So we'll get to a quick look at what the deck looks like on paper, then we'll get to the card by card. Alright, so starting out with the monsters, we have the star of the deck, of course, being Elemental Hero Neos. So I'm running two of him just because there is a way that we can pull him out of the deck, being Spirit of Neos, which we are also running two of. I feel like running three would just be too bricky for both of these monsters. But yeah, so we can shuffle Spirit back into the deck to special summon him from the deck. And then Spirit, when it's special summoned, we can add a spell or trap that lists Neos in its text. So that's really nice. Next for the monsters, these are going to be your bricks. So this deck does have a couple bricks that you don't want to draw, but the monsters that they help summon are really, really powerful. So we have Rainbow Dragon, Armed Dragon Thunder level 10, Neos Wise Man, and Ubel. So like I said, you normally don't want to draw these, but if you do, Neos Fusion does allow you to use fusion material from your hand, so if you draw these, it's fine. And then for Wise Man, Kluger summons it, so could be worse. Next is the Neo-Spacian lineup. So I'm running one Dark Panther, two Grand Mole, one Hummingbird, one Scarab, two Dolphin, and one Moss. So yeah, basically we're running all of them. We're running one of each except for Mole and Dolphin, which we are running two of. So that's because these two are the most useful ones in my opinion. So those are the ratios for that. Of course, you know, someone else that wants to prioritize something, a different monster, they can adjust the ratios accordingly. But for me, that's what I'm running. Next, I'm running two Cross Keeper, and then one Neo-Space Pathfinder. So, Crosskeeper, by sending it from our hand to the grave, we can special summon a Neo-Spacian or the Spirit of Neos from our hand. And then when we special summon a fusion from the extra deck, we can banish it to draw two and then place one on the bottom of the deck. So, that's really nice there. Pathfinder, this is really good for getting the Neo-Space, or it can also serve as Ash Bait, which is really important for this deck because Ash, if used on the Neos fusion, can really kill this deck. Next, rounding out the monsters, running triple Neo-Space Connector. So, being able to get some of our fusions set up, all that good stuff. I think everyone pretty much knows what this card does. Not going to dwell on it too long because it's good. Alright, so next we're going to move on to the spells. And first we're going to do the spells that can be searched off of either Spirit of Neos or Brave Neos. So we've got Instant Contact, Ian Shuffle at one apiece, triple Neos Fusion, and then triple Miracle Contact. So with Instant Contact, pay 1,000, special summon one of the singular fusions, you know, like the ones pictured on the card here. But then if Neos isn't on your field or graveyard, it's fetched negated and can't attack. And this was actually where the misplay in round, or one of the misplays in round one against Volcanics came up. I sequenced things out of order, so this ended up basically just being a 1,000 life point cost for basically nothing because it couldn't attack. So that was definitely my fault. But we also have Ian Shuffle. So this is good. We can special out the Spirit of Neos straight from the deck by trading it with one of our Neo-Spacians, or we can trade something else for a different Neo-Spacian just based on what the situation needs. Then we can shuffle either a Neos or two Neo-Spacians back into the deck to draw one. So that's really nice, especially for replenishing the Neos for the 3 copies of Neos Fusion. Alright, so this gets us a singular fusion, just so that way we can get whatever the situation needs from materials in the deck. But it does log us out of additional special summons after this resolves, so that is a drawback to be aware of. We also have 3 Miracle Contact. This is the OG Neo-Spacian spell, so we shuffle things from our hand, graveyard, and or field into the deck for the appropriate Neo-Spacian. We're also running 3 Convert Contact. So this way, because I do prefer to go second, so at the worst, this is a Ashbait, or at the best, it's a Foolish Burial and a draw 2. And it's not once per turn, so yeah, I do like to run this at 3 just so we can see this as often as possible. Next, we have, of course, the Rhoda, so we can search for, Pathfinder, Connector, Crosskeeper, any of those that we want. Also running Terraforming, because Neos heavily relies on the field spell. And then, of course, 3 Neo-Space, because, if we don't always get Terraforming, we can at least get this. So that way we can have a higher probability of drawing this. And then, of course, it does mention Elemental Hero Neos, so you can actually technically search this off of both Brave Neos and Spirit of Neos, but usually you're going to want to get Neo-Spacian. Or, one of the things you could get is the next card being Favorite Contact. And then, technically you can also search next, but Favorite Contact is the better one of the two, in my opinion. So, Favorite Contact, it's basically Miracle Contact in trap card form. That's basically all it is. And then next is, it's kind of weird. This is actually the newest card I added to the deck. I wasn't running this before, but I decided to put it in. And it actually did come up in one of the games. But basically, if you control no cards, you can activate this from your hand, which is what I ended up doing because I drew this in my opening hand. And I used it to get a Contact Fusion, and then I also had Neos Fusion, so I had 2 fusions on the board at once. But you can special summon any Neo-Spacians and Neos from your hand or graveyard, but their effects are negated. So, but of course, if you're going to go for a Contact Fusion, it doesn't really matter. So that's it for the main deck. Now to go for the extra deck. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Neo-Spacian Marine Dolphin. We only summon this off of the Instant Contact. And I actually didn't use this during the tournament last night. There was probably a chance where I could have, and perhaps not made that huge misplay against Volcanics in round 1 if I did do that, but, whatever. But this allows us to summon Marine Neos. We'll get to him later. Next, we also have Brave Neos. So he gains 100 attack for every hero and or Neo-Spacian in the grave. And then when it destroys a monster by battle, he gets to search for a spell or trap that lists Elemental Hero Neos in its text. So really good there. Next, for kind of the more OG ones, so we have one of each: Glow Neos, Aqua Neos, Flare Neos, which actually came up quite a bit, Grand Neos, he actually came up quite a bit too, Air Neos, and Dark Neos. So, Glow Neos is a once per turn pop on something. Aqua Neos, discard a card to destroy a random card in our opponent's hand. I summoned this one once or twice. Flare Neos, I used this one 2 or 3 times, I think. And basically it pumps itself up for every spell and trap that's on the field. I used this for sure, I know, against Crystal Beasts. Because, they have a bunch of stuff in the back row, so... Yeah, so that really came in clutch there. Grand Neos is a Walking Compulse. So I use this one quite a bit too. I use this to bounce a Volcanic Emperor back to the hand. So that way he couldn't run over my Neos fusions anymore. Air Neos. So while your life points are lower than your opponent's, it gains attack equal to the difference. I actually used this to close out Game 2 against Red Eyes Dragon Link, so it won me that match. So, especially since this is my favorite one, that was really awesome. And next we have Dark Neos. I actually didn't summon this one. It's actually the only one I didn't summon. I summoned all of the original 6 except for Dark Neos. So, But yeah, basically it's a continuous negate on something, and you can activate it multiple times per turn. So like say I have this on the field, it's like, oh, I'll target your Dogmatica Ecclesia, it's affection negated, enter battle, boom. Destroy it since it's affection negated. Main phase 2, I'll target your Dogmatica Maximus. Now it's affection negated as long as this is on the field. So that's really nice, but it didn't come up. It just never came up. I had other monsters I wanted to summon instead. Sorry for the shakiness. My dog knocked the tripod with her foot. Next, we are running the Elemental Hero Marine Neos. Like I said, we did not summon this, but it's basically a slightly upgraded form of Aqua Neos, where we can just destroy a random card in our opponent's hand without a discard cost. So, potentially could come up, especially if you're in a simplified game state where it would just come down to like a top deck war. So next is the triple contact fusions. So we have Magma Neos and Nebula Neos. So I actually did not summon either one of these throughout the night. They just never came up, or if I could have, I chose a different option, but these are there if you need it. This gains 400 for every single card on the field. This draws cards equal to the same number of cards your opponent controls, and then you get to negate the effects of one face-up card. So that's really nice, but these two just never came up last night. Next, for some of the special fusions, I guess, we have Kluger, Rainbow Neos, and Arm Neos. So I only summoned Kluger once, and it was against Volcanics, but it put in a lot of work. So at the start of the damage step, you get to inflict damage to your opponent equal to their battling monster's attack points, and then when it gets destroyed, you summon Neos Wiseman from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So really nice there. These two, Rainbow Neos and Arm Neos, I would say that these combined are the MVPs of the night. I relied on these two more than I thought I would, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, Rainbow Neos gets to get rid of your opponent's resources based on what you get rid of. So it's kind of like an equivalent exchange kind of thing. Arm Neos, when it gets summoned, we summon this with the Arm Dragon Thunder level 10. It targets the dragon in the graveyard, and you destroy all your opponent's monsters with an equal or lower level. And then when it runs over something by battle, it gets a quick effect where you can tribute it to summon an elemental hero from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. And we pulled that off in the second game against Crystal Beast to summon our next and final extra deck monster, Cosmo Neos. So when this guy is summoned from the extra deck and hits the field, and I will even read this verbatim, it says, you can activate this effect. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards. Also, cards your opponent controls cannot activate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So yeah, it's basically a turn stop. So I pulled that off once against Crystal Beast. It just never really came up in any of the other games, even when I used Arm Neos, because I just wiped their whole board and then wiped out their life points with a 4,000 attack Arm Neos. But yeah, this certainly did come in clutch in that second game against Crystal Beasts. Keep them from mounting a comeback. So yeah. Also, as an addendum to the extra deck, this one I actually have, I guess you could call it a side deck. But basically, it's just one copy of Elemental Hero Storm Neos. So that way, if you're against a heavy back row strategy, then you can side this in and get for games 2 and 3 by taking out one of your other fusions. So just a way to kind of be more flexible. That's it for the actual deck profile portion. We'll get to the shuffling, and then we'll do some test hands. Alright, let's see what we get. So, I generally want to go second with this deck, so we're just going to emulate going second. So we got Panther, Scarab, Shuffle, okay. Spirit of Neos, okay. We drew one of our bricks, dang it. And Connector. Okay, so this isn't bad. It's doable. So what we would do in this case is we would just go ahead and normal summon our Panther here. Then we'd activate Ian Shuffle, so we target him, shuffle him back into the deck, and then we'd summon out our Elemental Hero, which of course we are going to get the Spirit of Neos, the second copy that is not in our hand. So we're going to summon that to the field. All right, and then on summon, Spirit of Neos will get us a spell or trap that lists Elemental Hero Neos in its text. So we're going to grab a Neos Fusion, of course. All right, now we're going to shuffle because the Dark Panther is shuffled into the deck. All right. So what we could do is, if we wanted to, we could activate the effect of Spirit of Neos, shuffle it back into the deck to get a regular Neos, but I actually don't want to do that. So what I would do is I would go ahead and activate Neos Fusion. So with this, there are plenty of options we could use. I mean, we could use any, we could use Brave Neos, any of these guys. Not these two, or this one. We could even summon this, or this. You know, just based off of what our opponent has, because we could keep this on the board, summon Rainbow Neos, tribute it, or rather send it to the graveyard to shuffle all of our opponent's monsters back, then hit for 45. We could summon Brave Neos, run over a monster, search something like Neo-Space or Instant Contact, or Favorite Contact even. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different things you could do. I mean, just off of this play right here, I mean, you could get him, I wouldn't recommend getting these guys because we don't have Neo-Space on the field. So, or you could also get Kluger if you want to do a bunch of burn damage. Like I said, you could get Rainbow Neos. You could also get Arm Neos if you just wanted a board wipe to really hit them for a bunch of damage. So, yeah, I mean, I really hate to say this, but that's really all I got. Just because this deck is so flexible that it's hard to want to commit to any one line of play without any other context. So, I mean, I guess I'll just kind of cut it off there. I mean, like I said, I kind of hate to do that because I know some of you guys are probably wanting to know what I would summon, but honestly, it just really depends on what our opponent has on the board. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be, I guess that's going to be it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. And I hope you guys continue to vote in the locals poll. So just for extra context for those still watching, when I checked the poll at 4 o'clock yesterday, it was still tied between Neo-Spacians and Gem Knights. So I basically just left it up to chance, and it just so happened that Neo-Spacian won. So we took Neo-Spacian, so maybe Gem Knight will win the next Fusion poll, but for this week, it's Xyz, so vote for whichever Xyz deck you want to see us play at locals next week. I believe, if I remember correctly, I think Phantom Knights is currently in the lead right now. Although I will say that Battling Boxer is now on the poll since we got all the cards we needed from Soul Burning Volcano. So yeah, that's going to be it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys vote in the locals polls as well. I like it when our community has a say in what we take to locals. And yeah, I will see you next time.